Thanks, thanks for coming.
John Bauch, this is your exhibit. After how long have you been working?
I don't know, 35, 40 years.
Yes, and
Yeah.
did you start as a sculptor?
No,
How did you start?
as a little boy. This is called Allegory for My Father. And I did it after my father passed away. I took a marker and I drew pictures on the steel. And then I imagined in my head what these things would look like when they were cut apart and they were three-dimensional. So it was a big guess, and it was an adventure. Okay, so I cut the steel out into about 3 or 4 forms, and I moved it around, and then I took a torch and I bent it and I started welding it, and I had a lot of fun.
When we were in here putting up the show, someone walked by and stopped in, and the first thing that she said was that she loved how the pieces were dancing. I thought that was really interesting.
Lively works that are moving, rhythmic, and very well conceived.
Thank you.
An excellent use of materials.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you an artist?
I'm an artist and I've been an art critic for 20 years for the International Herald Tribune.
It's called international politics because politics is really the same all over the world as long as there's not a gun. If there's a gun, then it gets very complicated.
So you have the colors of the ocean and the land.
Okay, that's a good. That's a good. Yeah, that's a good. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. This crazy guy has an acetylene torch that'll cut through metal. Okay, and feels very powerful. He's not drunk, and like he wants to do it to this metal and liberate what's inside of it. Okay, so what's inside of a pipe? There's air. So air is like probably the most important thing. It's more important than water because if you don't breathe, you can't drink.
Here it is, a piece of iron, and yet you feel the movement in it. And that's what's exciting me so much. You keep telling yourself, no, it's just metal. But it's not, it's moving. I want it.
Well, that's what I try to do. I try to get movement. While I'm working on it, I want it to look like it's alive. That
You have succeeded, yes.
House of the tsunami, and it stands on an abstraction of what used to be a house, and there's water, like a symbolic presence of water flowing through the house, and the wind and the clouds are above the representation of a house, and then we have a piece of a roof on the very top.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful that you have references for all that everything everything you do refers to something in the actual world. I can see the waves and I can see the roof.
Yeah, that's true in this piece more than most others. Yeah. Mythic Maori, because the Maoris were very warlike people, and they kind of fought the British to a draw. No other colonial setup happened that way, and it was late in the British Empire, and they were kind of they weren't as strong as they were, say, when they conquered North America. And the Maoris, they were tough little birds. And the supply lines were unbelievably long. And they didn't give up, these little guys. So the British made a treaty with them. They get Maori.
Club the line, keep going. Don't try to go back. Remember the line that you just clubbed. Keep going.
Night creatures.
I was glad to see in looking at your list at the gallery desk, your price list and your list of works, that there are a number of red dots.
Yeah, I feel good about that.
Congratulations.
Like all sculptors, we have a space problem.
So you won't have to store everything.
Right.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you, Jarrell.